Welcome back to Whitt Acres. Today I'm going to be making birdhouses out of my homegrown gourds. Hump up. It is clearly not growing season right now, so that means it's crafting season. And you can see the openings on the ice are getting pretty big today. We have a high of 35, so we're actually getting a pretty good melt. Hump up. Don't break anything in there, bud. Could cause an ice dam and then make a leak. You can see the fish still swimming in there. But we're getting a proper winter this year, and I noticed some of my birdhouses have not been holding up, like that one in the poplar. I noticed that one had a hole blown out in it, and now the whole bottom's gone. There's one in the hemlock tree here. And the hole in that one got bigger, but I think it'll still hold a bird. We also have one over here in the maple tree. That one's still doing well. I have a regular birdhouse here in the red maple tree, and then I have a couple over on the pergola. That one's got a feather. But it's gonna be a while till spring, so I wanna make some new birdhouses here, and if the birds need somewhere to go on cold nights to stay warm, they'll have a place. And they'll also be ready for the spring migration. Oh, the geyser. Oh, Pop. What are you doing? You digging up my get out of there, bud. Those are my gladiolas. That's their insulation. It's gonna get cold again tonight, bud. What are you doing? The geyser's keeping its spot open, and the holes here around the aerators are getting bigger today. It's really starting to open up here. The ice sheets on the front of the waterfalls might slide off today. Don't walk in there. Now my pergola over there is where I typically grow my gourds during the growing season. But once I harvest them, they have to go up into the barn and dry for months before they're ready to use. So I'm gonna select a few nice ones that I have up in the barn and then bring them down here so we can make them into birdhouses. And I should have brought some sunglasses out. I can't see. Pop. Leave them alone. Come on. All right, I got 6 gourds down here. I think they're gonna work the best. How you doing, Duchess? I hear you, girl. Now there is one gourd that's typically used for birdhouses, and it's called the birdhouse gourd or the bottle gourd. These gourds here look a little bit different, and that's because they're actually hybrid gourds that I grew from my own saved seeds. And there is one cannonball gourd or a bushel gourd. It's almost completely round. We can use this one too. Duchess, what are you doing, girl? I hear you. You trying to get to me? So right now I'm just going to be using these 6 to make some birdhouses, but we have some more gourds up here above the quack shack. These are actually dipper gourds here, and these can be made into birdhouses if you get the bottoms big enough. And then you can see I have some bottle gourds over there with the tighter necks. Most of those are big enough I can make a birdhouse out of, or maybe a feeder or some other type of craft. And then all these bigger ones I think are gonna work out great for birdhouses. Now some of the smaller gourds that aren't quite big enough to house a bird inside comfortably, you can actually hang those in the trees as decoys. There are predator birds out there looking for smaller birds' nests, so it does help them out a little bit to have some decoys up. And they also just look good in the gardens. Pop. Now whenever these are grown, they are a very juicy fruit, so I keep them up here in the barn to dry out for months. Depending on how big they are, they can be pretty heavy, and these are going to take a while to dry out. But the way to tell if they're dry and ready, you want to pick it up. It's going to feel a lot lighter than it was before, but you want to shake it, and if it rattles like a maraca, it's ready. This one's ready. Let's just check these other ones. Uh-oh. Sometimes the meat inside can get stuck or frozen and not rattle as much, but you'll definitely tell by how light they are and how hollow they sound. See this one? And once you get in there, you'll start breaking the membrane apart. It looks a lot like a pumpkin. There you go. So you can hear that membrane is actually holding all the seeds together, but whenever you shake it hard enough, sometimes that breaks them free and they can start to rattle. That one's ready. I don't want to break the stem off of this one. He's ready. Pop. So these are all good to go. I'm gonna take them down to the house. I'm actually gonna sand them up a little bit, try and get some of these mold spores and stuff off, and then I'm gonna wash them with some soapy water. As they dry, there's a lot of moisture coming through the shell of the gourd, so they get pretty moldy. That's why they're up here in the barn where they're dry under roof, but they get a lot of ventilation. And once we have the outside all cleaned up, we can pick a hole size for the bird that we wanna move into the gourd. And once we get the hole in there, we can actually reach in and pull some of the meat and the seeds out of there. We wanna try and use some of these seeds for next year's garden, but you're not gonna have to get it completely cleaned out like you would a pumpkin. Whenever the bird moves in, she can actually use a lot of that filler in her nest to keep warm, and she's going to do all the house cleaning and rearranging herself. And we're not going to be putting a big hole in there, so it's going to be a lot easier for the bird to get in and out of there than it is for you to reach in there with your fingers or any tool. So I'm going to get these down to the house and we can start crafting. Huh, Pop? Duchess, you done laying your egg, girl? Did you get an egg out? Hold on, let me see. Did you do good, girl? Oh, no egg yet, girl. Come on, keep working. Oh, you relax, girl. Yeah, it's okay. You lay that egg when you're ready. We'll check back later. Huh, Pop? Go! Good boy. Alright, I got all the gourds cleaned up here. Now that they're sanded and cleaned off, you can really see the beautiful patterns that the mold produces whenever it's drying out the gourd. So I know a lot of people paint their gourds whenever they make birdhouses and such, but I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be putting a clear coat on here because I think the natural beauty of these mold patterns are gorgeous. Huh, Pop, good boy. What do you see? That's just a crow. It's okay, Pop. Alright, the next step here is to decide how big we want to make the front door on this birdhouse. That's really going to determine what bird moves in. I'll put a chart up here that shows you which... Oh, the geyser! Gorgeous. I'll put a chart up here that shows you what size hole which bird favors. And I think for the last birdhouses I did a bluebird size hole, which I think is 1.25 inches. But I still had finches, sparrows, and hens move into those houses too. I've seen bluebirds here, but I've never gotten them to move into one of my gourds. Maybe this will be the year. So you can kind of call this the jack-o'-lantern step, and just like when you're doing a jack-o'-lantern, you want to find the good face of the gourd. And you want to consider when you put the hole in there, how much rain is going to be going in. We are going to be drilling a couple smaller holes in the bottom to make sure any rain that does blow in the hole drains out. But you also don't want a lot of water blowing in on the birds whenever it's raining, so pick the best face for it. I think I'm going to go with this down slant. We'll put the front door right here. Once we get the front door made, we can actually reach in there and pull some of the fluff out, leaving some for her, but I do want to get some of the seeds out of there that I can use to grow some more gourds this year. Pop, we failed at that last year. I really want to see gourds on my pergola again. That's mostly why I built it. And with that sun shining today, we're starting to get a lot of water open up on the pond. And I cleared all the snow off of the smaller pond here, trying to see if those fish are still swimming around in there. The two shabunkins survived the winter in here last year. I'm hoping they survive again this year. But last year was a mild winter. We didn't have all this snow. But you can see the waterfall never shut off here. Even though it was completely covered with ice, the water was still moving underneath. So hopefully they're okay in there and they're just hunkered down for warmth. I'll let you know when I know. But these are ready to go. Oh, the birds are starting to get loud. I think the ducks want dinner and then they'll be ready to head in. There's still plenty of sunlight out there though. But we have the birdhouses made here and they're looking good with their front doors on. I went with 1 3/8 inch hole. That should get a good variety of birds in there. And it was also the only hole saw I could find. But as you can see here, I also drilled a 1/4 inch hole through the neck of the gourds. And then just right around the stem of this round gourd. And that is for a coat hanger or a wire. I like to use a wire or a coat hanger because it gives it a stiffer hang, and in storms and just during the day when it gets windy, it doesn't blow around and rock as much for the birds. I have used twine before to hang them up, but watching them whip around in the wind, I feel like the birds are getting seasick. So the rigidity of a coat hanger or a thicker wire just gives it a little bit more stability in the tree. Now we'll take a look at these and I'll try and get a look inside. There, you can see the seeds in there, but it is fairly open. I'm not going to have to do much carving on the inside. The bird's going to be able to move right in and make it their own. But if I can get some of those seeds out for next year's or this year's garden, I will take those. So I'll clean these out a little bit and collect up these seeds. I'll grab some coat hangers to weave them through the neck and make a little loop to hang them from. And then I'll get the clear coat poly out and we'll really bring out the character of these. I'm gonna put a couple coats of sealer on them so we can try and get them to last as long as possible before I put them out for the birds. And they are gonna have to dry out for a little while because the birds aren't gonna wanna move into it smelling like fresh stain. So there's a little bit more work to do before these can go up into the trees. But I think they're gonna look great. Now you can get as fancy as you like with the designs on these gourds. Some people go all out, and I have done one before where I took a wood etching tool and actually made some designs on it. But I made the mistake of hanging it off the patio right there, and a bird moved into it, and then the vine wrapped all around it. It looked really good there for a season, but the sun ended up bleaching my design completely off. So now I just go with the natural look, and the birds are still happy. Hold on, Dabbles. I gotta check for an egg. I gotta make sure I get her egg if Duchess laid one. Oh, Duchess laid an egg. Pretty blue one. Huh, pup? Nah, that one's for me. Night, Dabbles. See you in the morning, bud. Night, ladies. Come on in, Mumbles. Come on, girl. It's bedtime. Hump Pup. Where's Duchess? Oh, there you are, girl. Hump Pup. Now we have some finished birdhouses. I think he's turned out really good, and they're going to be ready for the birds to move in as soon as they stop smelling like lacquer. Echo Pup, it's snowing again. Alright, that's going to be all for this one. If you want to see these birdhouses up in the trees and see if a bird moves into them, make sure to subscribe down below to follow along with everything here at Whitt Acres, and you can see me and Echo on the next one. Thanks for watching. Good boy. Go.